President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to deliver the eulogy at the official government memorial for Dr. Frene Ginwala today. Ginwala was the first Speaker of the National Assembly and one of the ANC's most prominent leaders in exile. She passed away following a stroke at the age of 90. Along with serving as the founding Speaker of Parliament, she's been remembered for fighting for the recognition of women in the ANC. The memorial service will be held at the Johannesburg City Hall, and Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles is there. Govan, good morning to you, and what can we expect to hear at the memorial of this ANC gallant fighter, as many will say today? Remind us who she was.
Good morning, Oli. Well, Dr. Frene Ginwala was not only an internationalist, she really was at the tip of the spear when it came to the ANC fighting against the apartheid regime from exile. She was at the head of that fight against, or the fight for sanctions to be placed on the apartheid regime. There's been a lot said about Dr. Ginwala since she passed, and of course we've reflected a lot on her role as the founding Speaker of the National Assembly, on her role in exile, in setting up the ANC structures in exile, in helping get its prominent leaders over the border, over the apartheid border. But let's hear how the family is doing. And joining us now is Mr. Lawson Naidu. He's representing the family. He's also someone who worked very closely with Dr. Ginwala. Mr. Naidu, thank you so much for your time. How has the family been doing since her passing, and what have they been saying about the way she's been remembered?
Well, look, it's obviously been a very difficult time for the family to lose someone as loved as Comrade Frene was. But we've been heartened by the outpouring of love, support and comfort that's come from all quarters. So, I think Frene is getting the recognition that she deserves. Her legacy is being acknowledged and lauded. And we certainly hope that during the course of the memorial today, people will really pay tribute to Frene from the heart for her role that she played, as you said, both in the liberation struggle, but also, I think very importantly, the role that she played in helping to build institutions of governance, and in particular Parliament in the democratic South Africa.
There'll be a lot said about Dr. Ginwala through the memorial service. You spent a lot of time with her, even lately, especially last year. Just give us a few anecdotes of what she was saying in the last few weeks or years.
Yeah, look, Frene was, as you know, a lifelong member of the African National Congress. She was a patriot at heart, and she always held out hope that South Africa would come right, that we would begin to take the steps necessary to realize the vision in the Constitution, and that all was not lost despite the many, many challenges that the country faces.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawson Naidu there, a family spokesperson, also a long-time friend of Dr. Ginwala. Let's speak quickly to Mr. John Steenhuisen. He's the leader of the Democratic Alliance. And John, thank you so much for your time. We've been asking the question about whether or not the objective of creating a people's parliament was achieved. It was at the center of what Dr. Ginwala tried to achieve as the founding Speaker of the National Assembly, along with those around her. What do you think?
I think that she was iconic, and I think that she set the tone for turning Parliament into a robust centre of debate and oversight, and the crucible of the national debate. And I think a combination of her sharp wit and her sharp tongue, but as well as an appreciation, despite the fact that she was a member of the ANC, that she had to bring other parties along. And excellent relations she had with the DA Chief Whip at the time, DP Chief Whip, Douglas Gibson, is still spoken about with great fondness by people in our party. Understanding that you have to make Parliament work, you've got to bring a whole lot of parties along together. I think that she will be remembered as an icon of establishing Parliament as a centre of executive accountability. And I think that she'd be very disappointed today to see Parliament in rubble and ash the way it is, and not fulfilling its role as it should have been, and the one that which she was a pioneer in creating.
We know that when they were setting up Parliament, Dr. Ginwala was adamant that the people's voice should continue to be heard not only during elections but as the legislation was being developed. Parliament has burnt down. It's been reduced to a hybrid model at the best of times, and the role of getting the people's voice into the process has been degraded. What do you think happens next to achieve that objective again?
Well, I would agree with you completely, and it's a point we've been raising repeatedly. Essentially, the people are now locked out of Parliament. If you don't have data, if you don't have Zoom, if you don't have access to facilities, you can't participate in Parliament or see what your people are doing. And I think the greatest tribute that we could as a country pay to Dr. Ginwala is to get Parliament rebuilt as quickly as possible and get it working again. I think that would be the greatest tribute we could ever have for her.
Thank you so much, Mr. John Steenhuisen, speaking to us just on the sidelines of the start of the memorial service for Dr. Frene Ginwala. It's the kind of commentary that we're expecting to hear from the parliamentarians, many of them who have already arrived here. We see here Dr. I see Ms. Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula is already here. We'll try to get a word in with her. We're hoping to speak to Mr. Charles Nqakula as well. Mr. Nqakula, thank you so much for your time. I'd like to speak to you as a stalwart of the ANC, someone who's attended a number of ANC conferences, and you would be able to give us a view of the contribution of Dr. Ginwala in exile. She's well known for setting up a number of the ANC structures, particularly in Southern Africa. She was well respected in the SADC region, even by leaders of other countries such as Julius Nyerere. What do you make of her legacy in terms of South Africa's role and what it occupies in the SADC region now?
In the first instance, we must admit that everybody that rubbed shoulders with her was enriched by that experience. And Frene made a tremendous contribution to our freedom. And of course, the ANC itself received a lot of information from her, both legally and of course politically, in order for us to be able to walk the road towards our freedom. That is the woman she was. Very, very good person. And the ANC was better served by her, and I'm hoping that there will be other people who will emerge in the ranks of the ANC who will be like Frene Ginwala.
Mr. Nqakula, could you give us an example of the kind of leadership displayed in exile by Dr. Ginwala that has helped the ANC achieve its objectives, particularly as it tried to get allies in the frontline states to continue that fight against the apartheid regime?
The first thing that is important to say is that Frene Ginwala made a contribution to the ANC, which was designed to walk the path towards our freedom. She had an understanding, particularly because she had a very, very strong relationship with our President Oliver Tambo, and understood where he was coming from in terms of the overall struggle for freedom in South Africa. And therefore, she had begun, even during those years, to look at how, from a constitutional point of view, we could create a democratic dispensation. And of course, there are many other people that she was talking to across the African continent, relevant to mobilization for support for the ANC and the road that we were walking towards our freedom.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Nqakula, stalwart of the ANC, worked very closely with ANC leaders in the frontline states in Tanzania, even in Zambia, of course in Lusaka. He famously wrote his book about the struggle for the ANC in exile. And there'll be a lot of commentary that's going to come here from this memorial service, Oli, about the memorial for Frene Ginwala, her legacy in Parliament. But I suspect there will be a great focus on her role in exile in building the ANC structures. Former President Thabo Mbeki also due to attend this memorial service. Of course, the eulogy due to be delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. We'll venture to give you all of that reaction and commentary from the parliamentarians as well as ANC stalwarts. But for now, it's back to you.